Hey, dude. I got a question. Is Stroker Ace a good movie?
What? No. Welcome once again to the Darkened Room of Music Conversation. I'm Chris.
I'm Darren.
Hope you're ready to dive into the mosh pit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I am.
We're going to get all metaled out for this episode.
That's right. All sweaty.
Yeah, we're going to list out the top 10, in our opinion, most influential metal bands of all time.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, this is a subject that I was way into at one point in my life. Still enjoy heavy metal.
Yeah.
And once again, I think that, we're going to limit the scope of this discussion to bands that are heavy metal. It's like there's no doubt about it that these are heavy metal bands.
Right.
There's always bands that were kind of on the fringes, and those were generally bands that were early hard rock bands such as Rush and Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple. And, they may have occasionally went into the zip code of heavy metal, but these weren't through and through metal bands. So today we're going to be covering bands that were from start to finish all about the metal.
Yes.
The metal.
Yes, and I remember, being really, really into this. I'm not so much in that world anymore these days, but when I go back and listen to some of these bands, I'm like, hell yeah.
I just love the energy of it,
Yeah, absolutely. So. I've never stopped liking it, even though I may not listen to it as much these days.
Right, and I was a guitar player, and, starting as a teenager, that's what I gravitated towards was the heavier stuff, because it was the most fun stuff to play on the guitar, and I just, I love, like I say, I love the energy of it.
Yeah, and I was the lead screamer in a band called MYGRAINE.
Yes, you were. All right, so let's get it off. Oh.
Let's start it
Let's
off.
get kinky. Yeah. No. All right, so let's kick it off with the number 10 most influential artist in metal history, in my opinion, the most important, and that would be Ronnie James Dio.
Yes.
Ronnie James Dio, just a fantastic singer. It's unfortunate that a lot of these people are no longer with us.
Yeah.
That kind of shows you the, just how long heavy metal's been around, and it's been pronounced dead a million times, and it never goes anywhere. But Ronnie James Dio started out in the early 70s, I think 70 or 71, in a band called Elf. And then eventually found his way into Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, which was a very pivotal moment in the mid-70s. Those records are really good. Long Live Rock and Roll is good stuff. The self-titled Rainbow, all great stuff, great vocals. And then eventually he found his way as the lead singer in 1980 of Black Sabbath. And that was probably his crowning achievement as far as metal people go. They hold these records in such high regard, and that's Heaven and Hell.
Still love that to this day.
Absolutely a wonderful record. And The Mob Rules, both of those fronted, Black Sabbath fronted by Ronnie James Dio. And then he had an illustrious solo career all the way up until the time of his death.
Yeah.
And, if you think in the 80s, he was all over the radio, too. Rainbow in the Dark and Hungry for Heaven. And
Rainbow in the Dark, of course, probably my favorite Dio song, but Dio's least favorite song.
Yeah, that's right. And, he had Vivian Campbell, who has been a member of Def Leppard for many, many years. He was his guitar player at the time. And those records hold up very well. So he is held in such high regard. If this was just strictly on vocal talent alone, he would be higher on the list. But as far as an influence in the world of heavy metal, we've got him ranked at number 10. No shame in that at all.
Right. All right. So coming in at number 9 would be the undeniable.
Yeah.
I mean, bands even to this day cite this band as a major influence, Motörhead.
That's right. And once again, somebody no longer with us, Lemmy Kilmaster. He actually, a lot of people don't know this. Prior to Motörhead, he was in Hawkwind, which was kind of like a progressive, kind of airy kind of band. And then, man, in 1977, he dropped the bomb on your ass with the self-titled Motörhead, and Fast Eddie Clarke was the guitar player. And Motörhead kind of, forged with the whole speed metal genre.
Yes.
That was the thing that they were kind of known for. Bands like Metallica, which we'll get to later, they were very, very influenced by Lemmy and the Boys.
Yeah.
And I think 1980s Ace of Spades was a really, really pivotal moment in the world of heavy metal. And everything kind of came together with the Motorhead sound around that time.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were just cool. Lemmy, by all counts and measures, was just a really great person, great guy. And there's no denying the influence there. So,
indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So number 9 is Motorhead. Number 8, we're going to go with one of my favorites. I mean, if I was going strictly by favorite metal bands, this would be higher on the list.
Oh, okay.
Its roots started in Metallica. I'm talking about Dave Mustaine, the original lead guitar player for Metallica.
Yeah.
After that didn't work out because Dave loved to drink and do drugs and miss gigs and so forth, he was kicked out of the band.
Right.
And if you saw the Metallica documentary where they got to meet up with Dave, that was really interesting.
Yes, that was interesting, yeah.
I'm surprised they even allowed that to be recorded, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there's no denying that Dave Mustaine had a lot of talent. In my opinion, into the 90s, I think Megadeth made the better records. You know, maybe outside of the Black Album, but, you know, Countdown to Extinction,
Yeah.
You know, Rust in Peace, those were just great records. And
They were fantastic, yeah.
They really were. And prior to that, Peace Sells But Who's Buying, that's my favorite Megadeth record. And, you know, they just came out of the gates just all guns blazing. Dave is a great guitar player. You know, as they went along, he, you know, a few members switched, and Marty Friedman played lead on a lot of the stuff, taking the place of Chris Poland. Megadeth, no denying the influence. I think they had a wonderful track record and
a great live show. Side note, that was the first concert that my little brother went to, and I took him to it. He was like 13 years old, and his first concert was Megadeth.
Right, and that was at the show that Stone Temple Pilots opened in Nashville?
That was the very one, yes.
Yeah, because I was at that show too. I went with my friend Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of fun. Megadeth, you know, great career, still active to this day. Dave has really got his life together too. He's seems to be doing very well.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so what are we up to?
We're up to number 7 now, and we're going to go with Slayer.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Now, this is a band that, you know, great musicianship. I do really love their music, but I tend to kind of get a giggle out of their stuff.
They're hilarious.
More than I actually, you know, get you know, just musically.
I completely agree.
My favorite moment of theirs was when they covered Inagata Hilarious. It makes me laugh every time. But I'm not taking anything away from the band. I mean, they were a major influence in the metal world, especially with the really heavy thrash metal.
No doubt about it. And, you know, their records, their track record speaks for itself. You know, when they started with, you know, Hell Awaits, Show No Mercy, I think was actually the first album, Hell Awaits, and then what I consider a metal masterpiece, in Rain and Blood. And,
Rain in Blood. I can listen to that beginning to end still to this day.
That's only 28 minutes.
Well, yeah. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, when you're playing the songs twice as fast, it goes by twice as fast. But yeah, just really great musicianship, produced by Rick Rubin on the Def Jam associated label, which was kind of weird. And, you know, also their guitar player was the guitar player that played the guitar on Beastie Boys' Fight for Your Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the drummer. It was basically Slayer doing the music.
Yeah.
So they are a major influence to a lot of the thrash, the heavier side, and even their more later records, you know, through... you know, this is kind of creepy, but you know, the album that was released on September 11th, 2001 was called God Hates Us All.
Yeah.
So Slayer, they really have been around a long time, were a big influence in the metal world, and I dig them to this day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, so we're up to number 6 now.
Yeah.
Right.
Number 6, Anthrax.
Anthrax.
Absolutely. Anthrax, another band that's been around since as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And, they started out with, they had a different singer. I'm sorry, I got to look at the name. The name eludes me. Neil Turbin. I can never remember his name. He was the original lead singer that sang on Fistful of Metal. And I liked his voice. It was very cool, but he was soon replaced by Joey Belladonna. Joey Belladonna had an excellent voice. He was actually, they found him singing in a Journey cover band. And he, had a higher register, but a very cool vocalist. And right away, their material was able to expand because of his vocal ability. So you had records like Spreading the Disease and Among the Living and State of Euphoria, Persistence of Time. Those are all just great albums with great musical moments. And of course they did the collaboration with
Public Enemy.
Bring the Noise, which was kind of like the next step, the next level of the Run DMC Aerosmith thing. Combining actual heavy metal with rap.
A lot of people in 1999 when Limp Bizkit came along and all the new metal stuff.
Right.
You heard a lot of people talking about, who was doing rap metal. This is so new.
Right.
Actually, no. Not that far back was Epic by Faith No More.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, hey, we can go back even further than that.
Yeah.
I'm the Man by Anthrax.
Right.
So that even preceded the Public Enemy collaboration.
And it wasn't just a novelty thing. I mean, Scott Ian, the original, he's been with Anthrax for the duration of their career, was a huge Public Enemy fan.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't doing it just for a novelty. He really liked their music.
Yeah.
That was his favorite band. I remember him saying that. So I thought it was really cool, especially at that time, because music brings people together, and it's really cool. And then as time went on, eventually Joey Belladonna, things soured. He left the band. He was replaced by John Bush, who was the Armored Saint singer. And I think they made a fantastic record in the early 90s.
They really did. They got rock radio airplay.
Sound of White Noise.
Yeah, Black Lodge was a big radio hit for them.
Black Lodge. I forgot about that. That was a huge song.
A lot more people got introduced to Anthrax at that point.
Right. And what was the other song? Was it Only? Was that
Only? Yeah. Oh gosh, that was a great song.
Yeah. A real burner.
You hear it in the car, you're going to get pulled over for speeding. It's one of those that just pumps you up and your foot gets heavy.
Right. And I thought they did a good job around that time. Dave Jordan produced it, who had done like the Alice in Chains records and stuff. And they did a good job of like balancing out kind of like a modern sound, but still keeping their metal integrity. So Anthrax, no denying, I think they're great. Very deserved on this list, and they checked in at number 6.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to number 5. The number 5 pick is Pantera.
Oh, yeah. Man, where were you the first time you heard Cowboys from Hell?
I was at the college radio station.
Probably right next to me, right?
Yeah, probably.
Well, Pantera, a lot of people don't know this. They started out as a kind of a clone of a new wave of British heavy metal type style. They made a couple of records with another singer that were very much in the Def Leppard vein. One was called Projects in the Jungle, and it was good stuff. But more commercial type metal stuff. And then finally they found a kid, like a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, I believe at the time, Phil Anselmo, who joined the band as their lead singer. And once again, they dropped the bomb on us. From Cowboys from Hell to
a punch in the face, like one of their Vulgar Display of Power. Their cover indicates.
Which I still think that's their best record. From start to finish. I mean, there's not a bad track on it, and it's produced and played flawlessly. Unfortunately, Dimebag Darrell's no longer with us. He was senselessly murdered on stage. The drummer, Vinnie Paul, his brother, he's no longer with us. It's just sad that so many of these people are no longer with us.
That's true, yeah.
But Pantera, I think they were one of those bands that had a mission with every album. And every time they came out, they tried something different. When they got to the album with I'm Broken on it, the mission there was more to play. Everything was a riff, a constant catchy riff. And the Great Southern Trendkill, once again, another fantastic record with great moments on there. It was a little bit more musically, I don't know how to describe it, maybe a little more technical than some of their other stuff. But I think all the way through, they were really good. It was kind of sad that eventually they reached a point where they didn't get along so well. And at the time when Dimebag passed away, him and Phil Anselmo, they were at odds with each other. And it was just kind of a sad situation. But there's no denying the passion in their music, the integrity in the music, and also the influence. And I think history is going to be very kind to Pantera.
Oh, yes.
And I rank them very high in the world of heavy metal, and that's why they're my number 5, our number 5 all-time metal groups. Check out, if we're going to suggest to a novice, I would say start with Cowboys from Hell. It's got Cemetery Gates on there.
Oh, yeah.
A great song. But you can't.
Cemetery Gates is a great song to actually see his vocal ability.
Absolutely.
Like, he's more than just a screamer guy. I mean, he's got the vocal talent, and it really comes through in Cemetery Gates.
Phenomenal singer.
Yeah.
My personal favorite is still Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
Mouth for War. I love that song. There's just so many great moments on
This
that.
Love is probably my favorite.
That was their ballad, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really great stuff. Definitely check out Pantera. You won't be disappointed. Should be in any serious metal collection for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hit us up with number 4 then.
All right, number 4. Wow. The mighty Iron Maiden.
Yes.
When I think metal, that's probably the first thing that pops into my head is Iron Maiden.
Either that or Eddie.
Eddie, their mascot, who made an appearance on most of their album covers.
Yep.
But once again, this is a band that was very technically proficient. They started out their first 2 albums, coming out of the new wave of British heavy metal style. Paul Di'Anno was their singer. And those were good records and highly thought of. I like them a lot. The self-titled Iron Maiden record and also Killers. But then when they hooked up with Bruce Dickinson, I think it was a game changer.
Yeah.
Bruce was such a fabulous vocalist. He was in a band called Samson prior to Iron Maiden. And as soon as he joined them and they released Number of the Beast, the world opened up for him, literally. And they just made one great record after another. I mean, you could just mention all the songs of The Trooper, 2 Minutes to Midnight, all the great songs over the years, Wasted Years.
My favorite Iron Maiden song, Wasted Years.
Wasted Years, Rama the Ancient Mariner, Can I Play with Madness? I mean, the list just goes on and on. They had so many excellent moments, and I like... it would be really hard for me to pick a favorite Iron Maiden record. I think they're all very legit. As time went on, Bruce left the band for a while, but eventually made his way back. And Bruce Dickinson is no dummy. I mean, he's got a pilot's license. Yeah. He flies. He's got his own plane with the Maiden logo on it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's very intelligent. Our friend Danny Vaughan opened for Iron Maiden in the 80s when he was the lead singer of Wasted. And he got to know Bruce pretty well, and him and Bruce both had a love for Jethro Tull. That was Bruce's favorite band.
Oh yeah.
And I just think that they were a very interesting band. That every time out of the gate, they had a mission and something to prove. And they took their music very seriously. They're still around to this day. Live, they're still excellent. And, there's no denying their impact for their longevity, their vast catalog. I dig them.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to hit number 3 now.
Number 3.
And if you guessed someone different than what we're going to say, well, you got another thing coming.
Good one, yes.
Judas Priest.
The mighty Judas Priest. Yeah, Rob Halford, along with James Dio, I think, and Bruce Dickinson, I would say those are the 3 quintessential voices in heavy metal history.
Yeah.
Just really great high register. The early Judas Priest records, man, they're a whole different animal, but I really love them. If you check those out, if you get a chance, Rockarola, the self-titled Sad Wings of Destiny, these are just really, really good records, and they were more on the hard rock side of things. But then once they started meddling it out, things got really interesting. And once again, this is a band that just seemed to always be one step ahead of other groups trying to play the genre. Their instincts were usually dead on. A lot of people think they had a misstep in the mid 80s with Turbo. I actually like that album. But I get it, production wise, it's a little more keyboardy and not as in your face. But just all the way through, they always kept a really cool image. You knew what you were gonna get. To me, they were kind of like the ZZ Top of heavy metal. What they did, they were just really damn good at it. And and even going to the early '90s records like Painkiller, I mean, those are some slamming records.
So we were at that concert. What was the tour? It was Operation Rock and Roll.
Operation Rock and Roll.
It was them and Alice Cooper and Metal Church.
Metal Church, Dangerous Toys, and we're leaving somebody out, but
Anyway, I have the memory. We were actually kind of walking around because lots of bands, long time, so we were stretching our legs, and I remember Painkiller coming from the stage and the strobe lights, and I felt like I needed to grab hold of the ground because I was just the power coming from the stage was just incredible.
Those are good times, man. But Judas Priest, I can't say enough good things about them. A long, illustrious career. Always had two really cool guitar players, and musicianship once again way up there. And absolutely no denying their influence on heavy metal.
They certainly put the leather in heavy metal for sure.
Yes, they did.
Good old Rob Halford.
Yeah. And great songs too.
All right, let's do number 2.
Number 2, a lot of people would probably have this band as number 1, and you can't, there's not a whole lot to argue with if that's your position.
But I think we have a good argument for the number 1 slot. So
I think we do too. But number 2, we're going to go with Metallica. And Metallica is one of those bands that I remember hearing about them when I was in grade school. And the first time I heard them, I'm like, what in the world is this? It was like literally from another planet. I didn't dislike it. It wasn't my favorite thing when I first heard it. I had to kind of warm up to his voice and to what they were doing. But then once I got it, I'm like, man, these guys are really, really good. Of course, they had Dave Mustaine in the beginning, and that didn't work out. But, their albums, just Kill 'Em All, was just a really amazing debut release. And then, they go from there to Ride the Lightning, which had such brilliant moments on it. I really like that album in retrospect a lot.
I do too, Fade to Black was on there, probably my favorite Metallica album, which I feel like was a precursor. Whatever I just said. I felt like that song was a precursor to things to come. I mean, very similar structure to The Unforgiven, which was on the Black Album.
I agree with that.
Not the same song, but it was, kind of the same style. And I felt like that they kind of had their formula down from the very beginning.
Right.
And just improved on it throughout the years.
Once again, a group that had a mission. They, they had all the cool influences, and they, at weird various times they would kind of pay homage. One of the things is so funny, the way you're influenced by things when you're younger. I remember reading that they were huge Rush fans. And so that made me want to like them, quite frankly, because I was a big Rush fan. And Geddy Lee almost produced, they wanted Geddy Lee to produce Ride the Lightning and also Master of Puppets. But because of scheduling, it didn't work out. But, I love songs like Trapped Under Ice. I love, of course, Fight Fire with Fire. I think it's a brilliant song. And then, Welcome Home Sanitarium. Master of Puppets is one of my favorite Metallica songs ever. Battery, I think, is just mega, and then as it went along, And Justice for All. That was, and once again, a lot of the bands on this list, they seemed to they knew what they were doing, and they didn't have any missteps. It's like, it made sense when they went from this to this to this. It was like taking an evolutionary step. And Justice for All was much more of a technically proficient album.
Yeah.
It was almost like their progressive album in a sense. And there's some really great moments on that. Of course, One is the song that everybody knows. And those are, that's a great song. Actually got played on Top 40 radio. But that video, I mean, can you think of a video that's more memorable than that?
Yeah, that one gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I watched it just recently, actually.
Yeah,
and
done so well.
I'm like, man, this is so heavy.
Yeah, the impact.
Very well done. Yeah,
the impact of it is just magnificent. But
yeah.
And then of course after that, it's the Black Album. What are we gonna say? It was the Black Album. I mean, really, that you talk about something that comes along and just changes music.
Yeah.
And I remember us talking at the time when we were kind of thinking about, because back then we were programming stuff and, on the radio and you're like, man, where do you think music's going to go? And I said, I think this is a very important moment right here. I think this album is going to influence bands for the next 20 years. And it did.
And that's exactly what it did. Yeah.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. Bands like Shinedown. I mean, you can even name Nickelback in there. Like, I think they're heavily influenced by the sound of that album.
Yeah. All the new metal stuff.
Yeah.
Godsmack definitely, had a Metallica vibe. And once again, I don't think any of those bands were as talented as Metallica.
Right.
That's why they're on the list and those bands aren't.
Right.
But yeah, and even after that, Load and Reload, there were moments Metallica has had, post the Black Album that I think are really good. But if you go back to the beginnings and you check out All in a Row, Kill 'Em All, and Master of Puppets, of course, and then I'm leaving one out. Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All, the Black Album. To me, those are the ones. Those are the most important ones with just great songs. And I can't even tell you a weak moment on any of those records. They're that good.
Yes.
And then the one more thing I was going to say about the Black Album. Coming off the and Justice for All, which was a very dry-sounding record, really long songs, very progressive, very technical. They kind of stripped everything down and just went more for grooves and riffs. And not just any band could do that and pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think it was such a clever move at the right time. They went out and got the guy who produced Bon Jovi records because they liked the way those records sounded.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
They wanted to make a big arena rock sounding record.
Yeah.
In the vein of Motley Crue and Bon Jovi. So even though they weren't playing that kind of style, they understood the power in that. And I thought that, once again, it was a very calculated yet brilliant move at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we're to number one now.
Number one, and there can be no other number one than this.
No, there really can't. I mean, undeniably, they probably started long before most of these bands. Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Of course, lead singer at the time, Ozzy Osbourne, who went on to become his own influential artist in his own right.
Exactly. When you think of heavy metal, and a lot of people want to say that it started with, and you can't really argue with this either, but like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and bands like that, those bands really didn't want any part of heavy metal.
Right.
Black Sabbath, they were heavy metal.
Yes.
And it wasn't like they were trying to be something they weren't. They embraced it, and there's beautiful moments on a lot of these Black Sabbath albums. I mean, Tony Iommi was a masterful guitar player.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But when you hear that, the first song on that first Black Sabbath album, that little instrumental thing that comes, it's like nothing you'll ever hear in your life again. And it was like nothing that had ever come before then. And all of the Ozzy records, all the way through, just had massive, brilliant moments. They're seriously, it's like if you wanted to paint by the numbers how to play heavy metal, that's what you would study.
Yeah.
You would study the Black Sabbath discography, the Ozzy years. And then, once Ozzy left, and I would include this, we talked about how Dio took over and sang on a couple of records. Those were amazing records.
They were great, yeah.
Yeah, so Tony Iommi, I rate him extremely high for his songwriting ability. Nobody writes riffs like that guy. And yeah, Black Sabbath, whether you're talking about, Paranoid or War Pigs or You know, those are the popular songs. Everybody knows them. You've heard them a million times, but you know, they hold up for what they are. And there would be literally nobody else on this list would exist had Black Sabbath not came along and paved the way.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
And even my favorite band of all time, or way up there, Rush. You listen to the first Rush record, and it's a combination of Led Zeppelin meets Black Sabbath, and they'll tell you that. That's what they were going for, because Black Sabbath made their music louder and heavier and thicker than everybody else. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And when it came to their discography, you know, Black Sabbath with Ozzy in particular, they made like 8 records with Ozzy as the lead vocalist. All of them, you know, they kind of went downhill near the end because Ozzy was a mess.
Yeah.
And a change had to happen. And, you know, everybody kind of knows the history with that. He goes solo. You know, eventually gets clean and has this amazing revival as a solo artist, and as Ronnie James Dio takes the place of him in Black Sabbath. But there were some great moments on those original 8 albums. You know, Children of the Grave and Sweet Leaf, songs like Snowblind, just great records, just one right after the other, you know, especially early on. You know, the self-titled Paranoid, Masters of Reality, Volume 4, those are just essential in the context of heavy metal. You know, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Sabotage, that's one of my favorite ones. Technical Ecstasy, Never Say Die. Like I said, those albums kind of were going downhill near the end, but they still have some relevant moments on it. So yeah, Black Sabbath, I mean, I just think that, like I say, if you're going to paint by the numbers and start a heavy metal band, that's your Bible, is those early Black Sabbath records.
Agreed, yes.
Yeah. And I just think there's no denying. You know, we could sit here and list song after song, but, you know, if you know heavy metal, you know Black Sabbath songs. So, you know, I think they're the greatest heavy metal band that ever was. And definitely worthy. I don't even think it's... Metallica is probably the only band that you could even possibly discuss as being as important as Black Sabbath.
Agreed. Well, there's our list.
There we go.
Let us know what you think. Give us your comments.
Thanks for watching this episode of In a Darkened Room. You can find the link to this episode's companion Spotify playlist in the description. Darren and Chris welcome your comments. You can leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Follow In a Darkened Room on Twitter to receive updates and submit your ideas for what we should discuss in upcoming episodes. Darren and Chris are also on Instagram, so give them a follow there as well. All of these links can be found in the description below. While you're there, be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell.
All right, so it's random topic time now.
All right.
I think let's draw from the bucket this time.
All right, it's my turn to draw, right?
It is your turn to draw, yes.
Okay, here we go. Let me dig deep. Ow! No, I'm just kidding. Let's
Well, that's where I left that mouse.
All right, what do we have here? We have bands that are perfect for the season or the weather.
So it's bands or songs?
Bands.
Okay. Perfect for the season, perfect for the weather.
Yeah.
Well, off the top of my head, of course, that M83 that I mentioned in my favorite albums. Great rainy day stuff. But I would name, like, I think a lot of Don Henley stuff is great in the fall.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would go with Rush. They always released their albums in the fall because Geddy was a big baseball fan. And so he wanted things to kind of line up where he could still watch baseball and tour and all that stuff. And so, yeah, so I would say Rush is the perfect fall band. The perfect fall album, if I want to expand this thought a little bit, would be Signals, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and in the summertime and warmer weather, I tend to gravitate more towards the rock and stuff.
Me too. Cheap Trick is the ultimate summer band for me.
It is indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick and, some more of the modern bands like Jet. I really like Jet in the summertime.
Love Jet.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Aerosmith is a great summer band.
So, yeah, the warmer it is and the longer the brightness lasts, the more rockin' I want to be.
Yeah.
And I want to slow down when those days get shorter.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll be back very soon with another episode, another subject, and hope you'll be back too. So
Take care.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.